I'm kind of looking over there, and I'm like, this guy looks a little familiar. I was like, is this Jaws walking through? So what brings you?
Well, it's getting time, the Maxwell Gala. So we've had some meetings, moving things along. March 11th. We'll probably have close to 2,000 people in attendance once again, bringing another big event to Atlantic City, and the Tropicana and Tony Rodi do a great job. So we're already in the planning stage, getting ready to rock and roll. So always an exciting time for the Maxwell Football Club to come to Atlantic City.
Yeah, and who were some of the, I think I saw Cam Newton, one of the
Cam
winners.
Newton won the NFL MVP. Ron Rivera was Coach of the Year. Dabo Swinney, College Coach of the Year. Alabama running back Henry won the College Player of the Year. So another Derrick Henry. There we go. Yeah, too much going on in my head right now. Yeah, I know you guys. I listened to you on the drive down, so it was all good.
Well, it was just by blind fate here that you just happened to walk through. So March 11th is the day. I actually saw a billboard for it today, and as I was seeing the billboard, I was texting someone in the office telling them, hey, the Maxwells are the 11th. We've been there for the last couple of years, but back here at the Trop.
Back here at the Trop, and like I said, Tony Rodeo, the people here at the Trop, they do an incredible job. They love these events. We know they're successful in Atlantic City, so we enjoy coming down here. And the gala gets bigger and better every single year, beside the guys that have played and coached. Guys like Joe Brown, who's been with the National Football League front office for 50 years, honoring him with our Reds Bagnell Award for contributions to the game. So when you survive 50 years, an executive in the NFL front office, you deserve to be honored. So he'll be down here. Commissioner Paul Tagliabue will present him. So, we've got a great contingent from the National Football League front office. And, hey, you guys been, you know what it's like. It's awesome. Wild and crazy, and it's fun.
Event. Yeah.
It's fun, and we honor those that have played the game, those that have coached the game, those that administer the game. So it's really all eyes of the nation around Atlantic City on March 11th.
And what's cool is the dinner still open to people can buy tickets to the dinner, right?
They sure can. Yeah,
that's a great. I mean, that part of it is the stories are great. It's very intimate, and you hear some really neat stories inside that dinner.
Yeah, especially when some guys get out of control, and that usually happens quite often, as we all know.
I sat at the table the one year with Ditka, and I was like,
How was your cigars party at the Super Bowl?
We had over 800 people at the Ditka Jaws Cigar Party. It's one of my favorite events because I also serve as chairman of the board of the NFL Alumni. So we represent over 18,000 former players. Coach Ditka runs a group called Gridiron Greats.
Right.
And all legendary NFL players, Hall of Famers. And we do the cigar party to raise money for those former players that are less fortunate. Now, everyone sees the money that the guys make nowadays. Out of those 18,000 former players, many of them are broke. Many of them have problems, health problems. So we do the cigar party, we raise hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we have a little dire need fund for the guys that need some help. So 7 years, the Ditka Jaws Cigar Party, 7 sellouts, awesome. And we raise a lot of money for guys that, never made the big money and need help.
Well, Rod Jaworski just happened to be walking through the Trop. We were just telling people.
I would miss you guys. I would not miss you guys.
They got to come watch the games tonight. And we were discussing earlier throughout the day, Bradford, he's in limbo, it seems like. Mm-hmm. Now, the way that Roseman and Peterson spoke yesterday, it sounded like the ball's in Bradford's court. Like, do you believe that as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I think it's crystal clear. They want Sam Bradford back. And just this week I went through 575 Sam Bradford throws, forming my own opinion, 28 sacks, 14 interceptions. I went through it all and wanted to formulate my own opinion based on the tape. And there is no doubt in my mind Sam Bradford is a capable NFL quarterback. Now, I'm not going to put him in the elite status and say he's the guy that you have to have. He's a guy that you want. Mm-hmm. And I think the Eagles feel that same way based on, my discussions with them, my analysis, my evaluation. Now the question is, this is a business. And, do you pay him the $20+ million to franchise him? And I say no. He hasn't done enough to prove he's worthy of that kind of money. I believe what the Eagles did, they said, here's X. This is your money. If you want to take it, you're our quarterback. If you want to shop the market, if you want to go talk to Bill O'Brien down in Texas and see what you can get, it may not come across the same way. And it may be less when you come back to us. So here's the deal. You can be an Eagle for the next 4 or 5 years, and here's the dollar value we ascribe to it. And I think it's a fair way to do it. We'll find out if Sam really wants to stay in Philadelphia or he's going to make a money grab.
It's such, the sports, we were talking about this at the beginning, the sports are so different. In basketball, Sixer fans are kind of like on board because there's hope. They think if you get somebody, because it's so hard to win.
They're jumping off pretty quick, though. Let's be realistic.
But I
think we all kind of like that idea, and it sounded really good, but as it's playing out, it's not working out like the plan was.
Right, but in football, no one ever wants to throw a season away. It's like you wait so much for football. You get one game a week. No one ever is willing to say, we'll just take the lesser quarterback. You will always take the guy that you deem to give you the best opportunity. And of all the options out there on the free agent market, and particularly in this draft, it seems like Sam is the best guy, but not at that number. So it's a conundrum for them.
That's the business of football. Hey, you got to pay Fletcher Cox. You got to pay a lot of other players. All of a sudden you're going to load, 15% of your salary cap on a quarterback or 20%. No, you can't do that and, compensate the other players. And I think, we've seen the Mannings and the Bradys and those guys, take less money so the ownership could distribute more money to the other players to keep their team intact. And I think that's very critical. But to your point, Mike, when you look at the word that we never hear anymore, and, I cover all 32 teams in the NFL with my work with ESPN. You never hear the word rebuilding anymore. You can't use people use it. They want to win now. You don't want to hear 3 years from now. You may be thinking that. Eagles administration may be thinking that, but you're never going to come out and say, "Oh, you're building, and in 3 years we'll be okay." No, to go to the stadium for a team that's rebuilding, they want to win now.
League, there's about 4 teams at the top, 4 teams at the, and then everyone else is about 3 points apart. How do you become the team that's 3 points apart and become one of those teams? Because the league, every week, the games are so close, and it just shows how if you're stuck in that middle, really are close. You just need that one extra guy to become one of those. It seems like New England's the one team you say every single year. Keeps the consistency there. It seems like everybody else, Seattle has done it very consistent the last couple of years, but even they're finding when you pay the quarterback, it gets harder and harder, and that's what makes that league so interesting, that you're never rebuilding. Always right one player away.
Now, contrary to the word that we don't hear rebuilding, what we do hear all the time is parity. Okay. And that's what's great in the National Football League. I firmly believe it's an 8-8 league. When you look at the 32 teams in the National Football League, they're pretty much all 8-8. Now, you may have a couple, right now, you're certainly going to say Denver, maybe a 10-6 team.
The one I forgot,
maybe some of the bad teams, are 6-10 teams. But when you look at the league, it's kind of an 8-8 league. And that's the beauty of the NFL, because you always feel you have that chance. We're going to get it together. This is going to be our year. And you never want to give up too much. That's why the draft is so critical, and even become more critical. And even the loss of the Eagles' second-round pick, that was a bad move last year, because if you look at the history of second-round draft choices, you're going to get an all-pro player in that slot. So you basically said goodbye with Nick Foles, that second-round draft choice, and now the closet's bereft of talent because you gave up that second-round talent. But you have to build through the draft, not only your first-round pick, your second-round pick, but the lower third of your roster must be built by your 4th, 5th, and 6th round draft choices, your 7th round draft choices. The free agents, when the draft ends, sign those guys. Those are the key guys you have to get to build your football team.
Now, you were part of the committee to help find Peterson, correct?
Correct.
What stood out about him that a lot of other teams weren't reaching out to Doug? So what was it about Doug that stood out to you and the guys who were finding who the next coach for the Philadelphia Eagles would be?
A lot of things. I've known Doug for over 20 years, so I know his character. I know his personality. He played the game. He has a great feel for the game. He played for Don Shula. I played for Don Shula, the winningest coach in the history of the National Football League. So you learn from guys like that. He was with Mike Holmgren. He learned from guys like Mike Holmgren, Mike McCarthy. So you learn. Then you go with Andy Reid. You look at the people he was around, and I see those characteristics in his fabric. Mm-hmm. He was a quarterback, so you got to know everything. He has all those things. What he doesn't have is head coaching experience. But everyone's got to do that for the first time. He doesn't. I'm looking at his pictures you got on your computer. He doesn't know how he's going to do the first time because you've never been in that situation. But I like the approach right now he's taking, and he said it yesterday out at Indianapolis at the Combine. I want a veteran, experienced coach on defense. So he brings in a Jim Schwartz who is very, very good. Say, hey, here's the keys. You run that defense. He'll focus on the offense, retool the Chip Kelly style they ran with. And you can see what they're doing right now at the Combine. He's been front and center. Howie's been front and center. I think they're trying to rebuild the bridges that collapsed under Chip Kelly's regime, where he certainly didn't communicate the Eagles' thoughts or his own thoughts with the guys that pay their salary, the fans. And I think it was a huge Chip Kelly mistake. And I think Doug is trying to prove that, hey, I'll be a coach of the people. I'll give them something they want to hear. And I think they're starting that in Indianapolis.
And it seems like this is all getting the house back in order. Like, you were drafted here, we want you here, as opposed to we were drafted here and maybe you don't mess, you're out of here. LaShawn McCoy, Deshaun Jackson, Nick Foles,
Jeremy
see you later.
Macklin,
right.
Yeah,
and this is more, hey, we appreciate you, we drafted you, we believe in you. And, it seems that fans sometimes don't like Howie. They don't view him as because that was put out there. He's not a football guy. I think he's done a pretty good job getting these guys back in here, and it shows that these guys maybe don't feel the same way as the fans do.
I agree with you. If you look at the history of Joe Banner and Howie Roseman, and they did operate in tandem when they were both there. You can look at, hey, there's always misses in the draft. This is I'll say this in a casino, it's a real crapshoot. Oh, you like that one?
He's an easy target.
We can laugh at anybody. But when you think of the draft, not every one of those guys hit. And if you look historically, what Joe did when he was in that position and who taught Howie, and you got to manage a cap. And you don't need to be a football guy. And Howie's defense, if you surround yourself with the right coaching staff, the right player personnel director, your job is to manage and surround yourself with quality people,
right.
Understand what you can pay, manage that cap, and not only for this year, for next year, and 2 years down the road, and 3 years down the road. And I think one of the things Howie, and I learned this from Joe Banner, they always sign their guys, and we're seeing it right now. Sign these guys that if they have another good year, and you get them in the last year of their contract, that price is going to be a lot higher. Get these guys signed for long term. Hey, and I was a player for 17 years. I know what that locker room is like. And all of a sudden the players start talking, hey, Pete, man. Hey, Pete, I'm glad they took care of you. Mike, hey, man, I'm glad they took care of you. It builds that unity that's so important. Hey, you know what? These guys do care about us. We're just not a slab of meat.
And I think Malcolm Jenkins hit on that.
Yeah, and hey, players believe in it, and it's the right thing to do. You got good players, reward them, sign them long term, and all of a sudden the word gets out quick. Hey, the Eagles are taking care of their players.
Yeah.
Trust me, under Chip Kelly, and I don't want to rip Chip Kelly because I really like a lot of things he did, but you can't get rid of talent, and he got rid of talent, and you see the result of getting rid of that talent.
And you mentioned another thing about the coaching staff. That is kind of what Andy didn't have experience either, but he got Jim Johnson, and he had a plethora of guys that were kind of the stars of the team in terms of coaching. And, Andy was the head coach, but he had a staff that, 6, 7 of those guys got head coaching jobs.
Yeah.
So Doug might not have the experience, but it seems like this ancillary staff is much more experienced than what Chip had.
And I was involved in the interviews. I was involved with the process for the 2 weeks that were going on. And these interviews were 7, 8, and 9 hours. The Eagles were totally prepared. The dossier we had on all the candidates was remarkable. This was not a, hey, come on and let's have a cup of coffee. Hey, we like you and you're hired. It was in depth. It was deep. The questions were hard. The Eagles were totally prepared to hire the best guy. And I've had to say this in a lot of shows. Everyone said, it was Doug Peters all along. It was not. The goal was from day one, when I first met the day before the Giants game at the NovaCare with Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman and Don Splinsky, we talked about, what the ultimate goal was, and it was to find the best coach out there and stay the course. You all of a sudden, you lose a guy, Gase moves on, but you can't panic. You got to stay the course and make sure you get the right guy. And I really believe the Eagles got the right guy. Now, we'll find out in 3 years, but let the process work, let the interviews happen, hear what the plan is, and then make a decision.
Well, it seems that things have restabilized themselves. It was a haywire house up there
until
for a
opening
while.
day. Hey, you remember the preseason Green Bay game where Sam, lit it up?
Yeah.
Everybody went, oh, we're going to win. I worked with Joe DeCamera on ESPN, 97 The Fanatic in Philly. I mean, I had pom-poms for Joe. Well, we're going to win not one Super Bowl, we're going to win 3. I said, it's a preseason game. And we're all going to get excited in the preseason. That's what we are. We're fans. We love it. We want to see our team win. But once the regular season starts, usually things are a little bit different at that point.
Well, then let's ask you this question real fast, then, because they're paying a lot of money to Murray. He was not a fit last year. Do you feel that he will be better utilized and a better fit now?
Well, the offense will be different. It'll be more of a downhill style of offense. It was not a good fit under Chip Kelly. It was an east-west, then north-south running attack. He was not a good fit for what they do. And my own personal opinion is DeMarco Murray does not have a lot left in the tank. I did not see the burst. I did not see the power. I did not see the ability to run routes and beat people. He's a guy hanging on right now.
There was some concern about that when they did sign him. And when you get running backs like Matt Forte is going to be out in the market, you wonder if people are just going to say, you know what, the Bears drafted Langford in the 3rd round. He gets 2 games and goes for about 375 yards. And it's like, you don't need to spend that money on that position. It's a shame because there's so many talented guys that play that position, but you can get that guy 3rd, 4th round, pay him for 2 or 3 years, and then say, we'll find another guy.
It's called a shelf life.
That's right.
It's called a shelf life.
That's the glamour position when you're growing up, but not anymore.
And the average NFL career, and this always shocks people, is 3.5 years. In 1973, when I came in the National Football League as a rookie, the average NFL career was 3.5 years. Here we are, 2016. The average NFL career, 3.5 years. It's a tough way to make a living.
Yeah. Well, so we got the Maxwells on the 11th.
Yep.
And I'm sure the golf season's going to be – we had a nice winter.
Made some beer money.
Yeah.
Had a little bit of play down at Blue Heron Pines. I didn't see you guys out there. You guys getting soft, It was nice weather. Seven Tap Tavern's going great. I picked up the Ramblewood Country Club a little bit inland in Mount Laurel.
Yeah.
Joe Flacco, my partner there, so not bad to align yourself with a Super Bowl winning quarterback. And so Joe's very excited about getting involved in the golf business and involved with me. And I'm just excited to have Joe involved. So it's going to be great.
So you're busy, and we appreciate you just coming in and hanging out.
Yeah,
man.
my wife's waiting on me.
I didn't want to make her wait.
No, that's okay. I always make her wait.
And, of course, the last time we had you here, the Soul were in Atlantic City. We know not coming back.
We tried to get we tried to bring we couldn't get dates,
right.
which is great for Atlantic City that Boardwalk Hall is that book. But I'm disappointed because we were very excited about what we started here last year, and we will be back. We will be back. We're going to take the game that was here up to Trenton. So, one way for Atlantic City, and hopefully, because we really got limited, the Democratic National Convention coming into the Wells Fargo Center. Yeah. So we're limited. We had to bunch our games in, but we loved the experience. Atlantic City loved the game. We had a great crowd. We kicked the hell out of Las Vegas and Vince Neil, so it was all good.
I was at the game.
Oh, boy.
I invited PT to come with me, and he didn't make it.
He probably had some paid appearance
somewhere. He didn't make it to the game. I actually it was a whole day. I was at the LPGA in the day. We left the LPGA. We came over to the Boardwalk Hall. PT didn't show the whole day.
He's getting up in years. He can't be he can't be burning that candle on both ends like us young guys can.
Oh, man. Well, it was a pleasure.
You got your Flyers shirt on there, 5 points behind. What's going to happen?
I think it's going to be right on the nail,
yeah.
right on the edge. I mean, every game has been critical right now, and you know what? They outplayed Carolina the other night.
Score.
They did not win.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Tonight's score is going to be like 3-1.
Yeah.
But it's not high scoring.
Who we got? Minnesota?
Minnesota tonight. Minnesota.
Minnesota. We got it. All right.
Tonight. Yeah.
All right, man. Love you guys. Yeah. Love your work. Love listening to you all the time, man. See you guys.
Thanks,
all right. Thank you, guys.
And here you go. We were just right before he walked on, we were explaining to people, come watch the game tonight. Get yourself situated for the fries and the wings, and, of course, the Flyers in the Wild tonight. And there's Jaws just walking through the casino.
That's just the best.